Hello there YouTube, it's Brendan here again. We are continuing on with the Corrado project. I apologize that I still have not gotten better audio here, but I'm working on that. If you do want to donate and help us get up to speed with some better audio, feel free to reach out, send me a private message here on YouTube, and I would be happy to make that happen. In the meantime, we are continuing with the Corrado. So when we last left you, we had put in a new fuel tank, replaced a whole bunch of fuel hoses, and we were taking it to see if it was going to finally pass Smog here in California. Well, the good news is all of the work to restore the fuel system and fix the leak in the evaporative recovery worked. So that passed Smog. The bad news is, for the first time ever, on the emissions side of things, the Corrado did not pass Smog. So with its 202,000 miles on the VR6 motor, it is finally putting out a little bit too high of HCs and CO to pass. Now I think there's still a little bit of life left in this, since we rebuilt the top end of the motor about 20,000 miles ago. And we're going to start with some of the basics to see if we can massage it past Smog. Namely, we are going to be replacing the O2 sensor, which has at least 150,000 miles on it. We are also going to replace the spark plugs and the ignition wires, because it's got the original ignition wires, 25 years old, they're pretty crusty. So we're going to go ahead and replace it with some fresh ones I got from ECS Tuning. And so yeah, that's the deal for today. We're going to get about that. One additional thing we'll be taking care of today also is I had this coolant line tear itself apart on a nice spirited drive the other day. So conveniently, I had some reward points at AutoZone. I was able to get these hose clamps and bypass the whole area so I could limp home without leaking coolant everywhere. And I happen to have one of these exact hoses in my hoard of Corrado parts that I've been stockpiling for all these years. So we're going to go ahead and replace that today as well. One other thing that we're going to be doing is in order to get registered this year, they're making me take my car for an actual physical inspection, and so it needs to have a front license plate. Well, one of my buddies made me this bracket special for Corrados, so this is going to go in between the radiator support bracket and the front grille, and it will hang out without touching my bumper and messing it up. Now I'm already there's some bracket screw holes on there. I don't really want to make it any worse. They were partially filled. I guess I could use them, but I don't really want to. So we're just gonna approach this with a bracket so that I can get it inspected and get it past the highway patrol inspection once we're all set to go here with Smog. Now, a lot of people like the factory Bosch spark plugs for a VR6. I prefer the NGKs. I'm going with the Platinum. They seem to last a little bit longer. The VR6 is one of those motors that can go forever if you treat it right, and I really like these NGK plugs, so I recommend them. If you do not have one of these wonderful spark plug tools, you can get it at AutoZone for $8 or $9, and it's got a rubber grommet inside that grabs on the spark plug so that it doesn't fall out while you are inserting it very carefully into the head. Highly recommend getting one of those. And if you don't have the original factory spark plug ignition cable remover tool, as somebody gaffled mine from my car at a recent car event, thanks guys, Schwaben makes this remover. Again, it's like $10 at ECS Tuning, and it lets you insert the leads and get them on nice and snug, as well as remove them without damaging them, because there is a two-part here, the rubber part that people will grab onto and the metal part on the bottom, and if you just yank from the cable, it'll come apart and then you ruin your leads. So these are the leads I'm grabbing there. They are factory size silicone wires. So nice and bendy. They're going to fit in the original spot in the engine cover, because I do like that factory engine cover, versus some of the aftermarket ones that are larger but do not actually give you any enhanced performance. They just look larger and they require you zip tie them in place. I'm not a big fan of that, so I'm going to go ahead and use these. Again, got them from ECS Tuning, and they also have the nice convenient label for which one of the cylinders you're running it to. So very easy to do, and we're going to take care of that. Going to be using a factory Bosch O2 sensor to replace the factory Bosch O2 sensor that's on there so that we don't have any weirdness happening with our ECU. And while we're on the subject of tools, if you do not have one of these and you have a Volkswagen, you must invest. These are the hose clamp pliers to remove those really crazy, annoying factory squeeze type hose clamps. They will squeeze the little arms on them, lock them in place so that you can remove them without hassling yourself. Now you can use lockjaw pliers to do that, but at about $7 or $8 for a pair of these, it's well worth the investment and just your sanity. Now the first thing I'm going to do here is release the ignition cables from their brackets in the factory engine cover material. Make sure that they're nice and loose. I've already verified that each of the factory wires does have its label in place here showing me which cylinder it is going to. But being a person who gets distracted quite easily, I'm going to be doing them one at a time just to make sure that I don't screw it up, because I have been known to do so. And do not want to be running into timing issues or anything weird like that. So even though I really could just throw these old leads away, I'm going to use this factory tool to get down in here. Start out here with, oh hey, let's go with cylinder number 1 on the very end. And this just snugs around the cable, stick it down, turn it slightly, and it grabs onto the bracket, pulls it out. Voila, and release. So I'm going to set that guy aside. I'm going to remove him from the distributor, and he really likes the distributor. Does not want to come off. So that's definitely a sign that it's been a while. All right. Here we have our number 1 ignition wire. Just going to do a physical inspection. I don't see anything majorly wrong with it. Yeah, there's R2D2 calling me. And, well, it's looking all right. But, again, it's just that time. It's been 150,000 miles, so we're just gonna have to put on some fresh stuff. Use this nice fancy spark plug socket tool. Let's see, that looks normal. So we can get it to focus in here. A little closer. And the autofocus does not want to cooperate at the moment, but we do see just normal coloration on this spark plug and nothing that indicates lean condition. Just it's definitely, the electrode is worn, which I would expect after however long it's been since I replaced these. So definitely time for new ones. Already double checked the gap on the spark plugs. They are good to go. I'm just gonna run them in there. Oh, you know what? Some anti-seize might be nice, just to make sure that they don't gall. So I'm gonna take care of that as well. And I've gapped the spark plug to 0.028 inches, which is the factory recommended gap on it. Put a little bit of anti-seize on there and just getting it hand tight at the start, and then I'm going to grab my torque wrench and put it to the factory specs as well. And then we are going to go ahead and torque this down to 18 foot-pounds, which is the factory recommended. And just bringing it in, I like the click type torque wrench. Take it in nice and slow. And there we go. This far and no further. And of course, our last step is going to be replacing the ignition lead. I'm going to use this fancy tool, put our new ignition lead in there, insert it nice and positively. Alright, there we go. Nice positive engagement. I'm going to run it back. I'm not going to snap it into place yet on its in its brackets. I'm just going to make sure that we are connected all the way here. Now I did replace the distributor cap and rotor all at the same time last year, so I'm not going to be bothering with those today. I'm going to make sure that I get a little bit of slack on both ends of this, and then I could press it down, but since I need access to the other two cylinders, I'm not going to lock it into place just yet. But it's already looking better. Hopefully it's running better as well. I'm going to continue on with the rest of the wires and plugs here. So actually, now that I see the this cover has got to come off in order to replace this hose, rather than replace this lead right away, I'm going to take this cover off, get that out of the way, deal with the hose, and then I'm going to come back to the other lead here and then continue on. And we're torquing to 18 foot-pounds. That's it. I think that works out to 25 nanometers, if I recall. Okay, well, let's give you a look what we want to see here. So, down here, zoom out a little bit. So right there is one of those wonderful factory hose clamps that we're going to remove. Get rid of this hose and get it out of the way. And the other one is going to be back underneath here, which is going to require me to move some other stuff that's in the way to get to it. It's back underneath there. And just inspecting the condition of other stuff here. My auxiliary water pump looks all right. The bracket seems to be holding it okay. I have not yet upgraded that to one of those very cool grooving parts aluminum machined brackets, but I will probably need to do that soon. Anyway, everything else is looking all right, so I'm going to go ahead and replace this hose. You may notice that I have bypassed the throttle body and just connected these two hoses together here. And that is because the only purpose of this is to warm up the throttle body. Oh, hold on a second. That's to warm it up for emissions purposes. Huh. Maybe I want to reconnect those just for my smog test. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Alright, remove these very fun, happy emergency pincher hose clamps. Get them out of the way. I think I'll keep this one on there until I'm done replacing this guy, but here's where those cool factory hose clamp remover tools come into play. Squeeze it, lock it, and oh, it's split down at the very bottom also. So I had not one, but two coolant leaks here, causing me catastrophic problems. And that is very interesting to find out. Now, because this is already cut, I don't feel bad about just finishing it off for the sake of making it easier to remove. So, go ahead and just yank on this to see if it's gonna release, but if not, I can go ahead and cut the thing out of the way. Alright, so you can see how messed up this was. It tore right here, just a complete blowout. But it also had, you notice right here, it had a small leak. I was losing coolant slowly and I couldn't find any leaks in the system. Well, that was it right there. Hello! Hello, I was leaking coolant. I'm like Grumpy Cat of Hoses. All right. So that one's gone. Now my new hose is from an OBD2 VR6, which means it has a temperature sensor in the hose. Before I pop this in, because this is from my spare parts drawer, I am going to replace the O-ring in there so I don't have another point of failure for leaks. Alright, so at this point in time, I ran out of time. Actually ran out of daylight to continue the work that I was doing for the tune-up, and so we're going to pick it up after this motorcycle gets done getting on the freeway. No, we're going to pick it up tomorrow. So go ahead and tune back in to the next episode as we continue this tune-up, and we should be hopefully able to get everything sorted out, get the Corrado back over to test for Smog again, and see if we can get her finished up. So like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in.